Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Music Lab podcast. My name is Dogg, and I'm so excited to be back with all of you for another episode of the podcast. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, our social media pages. That helps us, that helps the bands and artists that we feature. Also, check out our sponsor, RAR Outfitters. That's RAWR. Outfitters.com. Don't just wear, RAR. So, ladies and gentlemen, today I have Mr. Dave Lee. We hate to put labels on someone. We don't like to put titles on someone, but I'm just going to call you an entrepreneur, my friend. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Happy to be here. As you notice, I'm in my car. As I was saying, I live in New York City, and I happen to be on the wrong side of the street this morning for alternative street parking. So anyone that's watching that lives in New York knows my problem right now.
Yes. So,
But
how
it's a
long have we
lovely
lived in New York City then?
10 years.
And on the West Coast
10 years.
beforehand, right?
Yep. Yeah, I was in LA for I think 12 or 13 years before that, and then originally from Seattle.
Okay. So, of the
Yeah.
three cities that we've lived in, what do we like the best?
I like New York. I'm very happy here. I've said to countless people that I've just really funny because I'm a mountain person. Like I'm one that thrives in nature, that has lived in the mountains and has snowboarded in all in mountains all over the world and spend you know days at base camps and high camps, and now I'm living in the city. Yeah, so it's for a lot of my friends, they're confused. But there's something about this place that I've just found incredibly inspiring, and the energy here, and maybe it's because I do still spend a lot of time in the mountains and I get away quite a bit, that this is just a place where I can come back and feel like when I'm grinding, it's well received.
Yeah, I believe that. So, is there a music venue in New York City that has really spoken to you that you've seen shows at?
Man, there's lots. I mean, there's the classics like the Bowery Ballroom, or man, what's the Warsaw in Brooklyn is good. There's a few for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I was very blessed to finally get to see a show at the Bowery, and I get it. When you walk into that place,
Yeah, it
it's
feels good.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I do want to go see a show at the Hammerstein Ballroom. I've not been
Oh,
there.
that's nice too. Yeah, very nice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Radiohead and Counting Crows have done some iconic shows there, so
yeah.
that'd be a venue I'd like to see.
Yeah, there's some cool venues. There's also some cool venues just upstate too, when you could take a train and go up to like Tarrytown and some bands come through, or it's a big theater. Forgetting the name right now, but like
The
yeah, there's some
Capitol Theater.
Capitol Theater. Thank you. Yeah. Capitol Theater is great. Always gets good bands.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nice. So
Good city. There's always music in the city.
there
I just went to this amazing jazz show, Casa Overall. He was this jazz drummer who like pulls bands together, and he just put out an album. But like, I mean, even yeah, you go to the Bowery and you go see some good rock and roll, go to the Warsaw and find some like indie band or whatever. And then, you end up at the Jazz Center in Flatiron, and all of a sudden you're sitting in these rows, like having your mind blown, It's
yeah.
just some of the most incredible musicians. So yeah, we're very lucky.
So yeah, I guess so 20 years ago, let's take it back to 2005. You're in
Yep.
Los Angeles then at that point, correct?
I am actually just about to, 2005, I'm in LA.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
now. Yeah.
And we
And
had this idea to start this snowboard company.
yeah, yeah. So I had just come out of professional snowboarding a few years before. Um, I thought I had a bunch of global contacts from all that, being an athlete and riding for many years for brands, and I traveled the world quite a bit. So I had distributors that were friends, and I just thought like, man, this is pretty much like and I guess I should preface that by right out of high school, I was building snowboards. So a lot of people don't know that about me. Like after high school, I got a job at a snowboard factory, was building snowboards, was also good enough to like kind of stop building them and go ride them professionally. So that was kind of a nice treat. And then after it all, I was like, oh, well, I know how to do this. Like I know how to build snowboards. I should just do it for myself. And so we kicked up Signal Snowboards in 2005. In 2006 or seven, like pretty quickly after that, I met my co-founder, Mark Warenga, and Mark had a factory in Huntington Beach. And together, I think we kind of rolled into that financial crash together where all of a sudden brand and factory were really kind of hurting for money. But we thought like, hey, if we could pull ourselves together and be one brand with a factory, we could streamline. And so that was kind of 2007, 8-ish. We brought everything together. And then quickly after that, we started this our what we thought was just a fun way to show people how snowboards are made. We started a show called Every Third Thursday, ETT for short. This was like a Dream It, Build It, Ride It show. And, we started off like very simply, like, we went to like a thrift store or a record store, bought a bunch of records and pressed those into snowboards. We would made a board out of Legos. We just would do like creative things so that people could kind of watch how a board was made start to finish, but the concept always kept you engaged, like this is weird. So, went to some bigger projects. Like we made the first snowboard out of glass with these glass builders in Italy. We've made boards with Jack Daniels out of their whiskey barrels. And that led us to basically making cardboard snowboards. The idea of like a disposable one-time use cardboard snowboard with Earnest Packaging, which is the sponsor and co-creators of Cardboard Chaos and Cardboard Sessions. So back in that day, the CEO of this cardboard company is also my neighbor, but like neighbor, like see him on the street walking dogs, but not like super tight, and at that time, this show was getting, millions of views on like the glass snowboard and things. So my neighbors were starting to see it. Like it was just coming up in their algorithms and stuff. And so he was like, hey, do you think you could do, a show with us? And so we came up with the cardboard snowboard. It was a lot of fun. It got everybody engaged at both Earnest Packaging and kind of in the snowboard world. And they had so much fun doing it. It ended with, hey, do you think you could do something similar for us? So we pitched Cardboard Chaos. Cardboard Chaos was a cardboard sort of design and build show where we did like a surfboard with some surfers. We did a skateboard that Tony Hawk rode and totally blew us away. By the way, if you ever want to see a fun episode of Tony skating, pull up the cardboard skateboard. It's crazy. I mean, that's one where you're just like, when you hand it to him, you're a little nervous because, I mean, we all know what cardboard's like. You're like, man, I don't want to be the one that, hurts Tony with a project. But he did amazing, skated that thing so well. And then that led to we were friends with a master builder at Fender, Paul Waller, and we asked him if he'd be interested in making a guitar with us, and he was like, yeah, that sounds really interesting. And so we made the first cardboard Stratocaster, and it was like right before NAMM. So this is we were friends with Chester Bennington back in the day and our friends at Lincoln Park. And so Chester's like back then, I mean, God, we miss him so much, but like he was a snowboarder, just fucking amazing dude. And then just always excited for his friends to do cool stuff. Right. So Chester gets wind of this cardboard Strat, like, it's like, let me see it, let me like take it to the guys to play it. And that kind of gave that little bit of like, oh, holy shit, like Lincoln Park saw this thing, played it, like, and back then their Facebook page, I think, was one of the biggest in the world, like bigger than, any of the pop stars out there. So it just immediately, like within a couple days, went past 1 million views, 2 million views or whatever. And kind of, it started to take off, have a life of its own. It went to NAMM. Everybody wanted to come by and see this cardboard guitar at NAMM. That pretty much like solidified, like, okay, these guys are doing some pretty cool shit. And from there, we were like, what's next? So we made a drum set. And, we had gone to a couple of the drum companies and they were a little nervous because when you're working with cardboard, you're sort of also saying like these alternative materials could be an option. And they were like, we don't really want to, a lot of companies don't really want to jump in and wreck, like, whether it's the tone wood argument or, just materials in general. But it's really not about that. It's just creativity, right? Like we've all seen guitars built out of plexiglass, tin cans. Like it's not, hey, because we built this out of cardboard, this is the way they should be built. That is not what we're ever saying. We're more just like, hey, look how fun this is, So we built this drum set with Cy at Masters of Maple. And that to me was maybe like the most like technical and just, I mean, if you think about drums and it seems like it's not that difficult to build a cylinder, but to build a perfect cylinder out of cardboard and have resonance and, and structure, and then think about all the hardware that goes on those drums to keep the skins on and the pressure to keep the snare head on and snare. And it was just like, I couldn't believe it when they were done. And the fact that they sound as good as they do, like a lot of times when we're in a cardboard session, the drummer's always like, this floor tom is insane. Like, can I have it? We're just like, yes. So yeah, I'm kind of looping off here into like multiple worlds, or eras, but we made some instruments that kind of, started to have a life of its own. A lot of us were like, oh, well, we need more, like, let's build a bass, let's build a keyboard. We do those things. And then the pandemic hits. And I remember sitting at home and watching like metal shows and rock shows online with bands that were just like Kurverlatak, this Scandinavian band that I really liked, did this amazing like gig for just fans online, empty warehouse. We're all stuck at home and they just sent it like top to bottom album. And I was just like, wow. Like a bunch of my friends from Europe were on it. We were all commenting in the comments and it was just like such a amazing experience. Like I almost have chills talking about it because everybody was so stressed out, about just like what was going on. It's like really in the heat of it, especially here in New York. And here I am watching this like band just give it everything with no audience. Like you could tell they're in an empty warehouse. Between songs, it was silent, and it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, wow, and just like, ah. And so I was just like, dude, when this is over, we're pulling these instruments out and we're going to start this show called Cardboard Sessions. So I immediately put a pitch deck together for Ernest and said, this is what I think we should do. I have a bunch of friends that are artists. We called up John Theodore from Queens of the Stone Age, and we called up Isaiah from Earthless. And those were the two that kicked it off, like, a few years ago, 3 years ago now. And from there, it's just been this kind of rolling. Cardboard Sessions has been like one gig after another, like friends of friends being like, and we have a lot of friends that we've called, but now it's kind of its own thing. And it's like, oh, you should do it with, Billy Gibbons and we'll grab Matt Sorum and they'll put something together. And then, oh, let's, I'm friends with Keanu. Let's get Dogg to play. And so then we have, Dogg in, and Keanu's all of a sudden, we're talking Jay Mascis and The Cure, and we're setting up a session with him. And I mean, it's just an absolute treat, to be honest. Like we've kind of talked about it offline, but the whole concept behind these shows is really just building community, coming up with cool ideas and getting them made, but getting them made with cool people, and without that element, I think, it's just another show of something getting made. Mm-hmm. But the world of Ernest packaging, a bunch of cardboard guys, Mike Martinez, if you dig into some of those shows, he's an amazing designer and sort of solutions focused guy at this cardboard company. And when we come with a project, like that's his job. Like I need to figure out how to build these pieces so that, Dave and Mark can go and take them, or, Mike comes with us as well. on a lot of shoots, and we like drop these pieces off, and then work with Fender, or work with a, you know, some creative to get these things made. Um, yeah, so that's kind of the basis of how this all has kind of, evolved, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm sure the audience wants to know, like, how thick is this cardboard that you're using? Like, how heavy is it? Like, so,
Mm.
like a guitar and a bass, like, how much do they weigh? Would you have an idea?
I mean, the guitar and the bass are pretty lightweight. Think about, so when you get your packages at home and you open them up and you look kind of like at the top of the flap and you see the little flutes in there, we're stacking those structurally so that they're kind of almost like a block of wood.
Okay.
So we're making basically blocks out of cardboard using the flutes in different patterns to make different types of structures, whether it's torsional flex or basically, top to bottom flex of things. When you're thinking about making a cardboard neck for guitars, it's really quite intense because of all the string, all of the tension from the strings, especially a bass guitar. So there's just like a lot of, crisscrossing patterns and weaves built into them. We do use, like, a lot of people from the beginning, things were pretty organic when we were testing stuff out. Clearly, like, over the years, we've evolved and we've used some bioresins and things to make this cardboard stuff last, because we want it not only to be just like a one and done project, we want it to continue on. And so, a lot of times things are, we'll use different resins to, either soak the cardboard in or kind of have it run through some flutes or whatever. And that creates obviously a lot of strength and, you know, takes away some of the recyclability of it. But at the same time, these are projects that just kind of push material innovation in a way that's just like more fun. Like, we're not trying to replace, you know, the wood in a guitar or the wood on drums, or it's more just like, hey, this also works. And sometimes you just have to start an idea, and then all of a sudden, once that idea exists, people riff on it. Like, I've noticed, like, on the internet, there's probably at least two Fender Strats now with over 1 million views since we did ours, so, and ours was like 10 years ago. So there's one like in the last couple of years where somebody built one at home and it looks fantastic. So I do love the idea that just because you start something and, it's not perfect right out the gate, you can't just like throw it in a recycling bin and move on. It's still an idea, and it's still a worthy idea of exploring, and somebody has to start it before, you know what I mean? Like, someone has to jump in, or we all just sit around going like, well, is it possible? So that's kind of our point, is we think, with even back with the snowboard show and this, I'm always like, let's take these ideas as far as we possibly can in a thought process where it almost seems like ridiculous and impossible. And then we'll start to pull it back, right? Like, we never start small, like, hey, what do you think we can do? I'm like, let's go, like, can we get a snowboard in space? Okay, that's a great idea. Can we? And then we realize we can't, like, we don't really know anybody, but then we get, years later, we get tours of SpaceX and we make friends with people there. And all of a sudden, a rocket goes up, and because we've been working, in this space for a while, they send a little logo of ours up in one of the rockets. And then now we have it, on a plaque. So Signal, in a way, has been to space. So it's, that's the shit that I love. It's like, just for all of us, like, let's just think big, think differently, especially, with everything going on in the world these days. It's like, that's the best parts of life. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, well said, my friend. Well said. So I do like the idea that you change studios as well. Like, you don't use the same studio for each one of these sessions. Is that, obviously, that is, by decision or by default, but does that also prevent you from doing them more, or not really?
I mean, the studio idea, a lot of the times that new studios are based on wherever the artist is
Okay.
sort of located. Obviously, it's much easier for us to do shows in LA. That's where all the instruments are. We have maybe three this weekend. So sometimes it's just when everyone's in tour and everyone's coming through, we'll jump in. And so we have an artist right now, SG Goodman, who's going to play on Thursday, and so she's playing between her Troubadour show and her Pappy and Harriet show. We have one coming down I think Monday with Troy from Queens of the Stone Age and Kelly from Failure, which is like, dude, two of my favorite bands.
Oh my God, Failure. Did you see the documentary?
What's that?
Did you see the documentary?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh my
yeah, dude.
God.
Yeah, huge fan.
Oh
So
my.
like I mean like I can't even like it's funny, you just there are these certain bands we all have growing up that just hit us at the right time. Failure's one of those for me.
Yeah.
And so that's very exciting. Um but yeah, that one will I don't know where that one's gonna be, but it all just kind of depends on where the artist is. And like we were talking about the Dandy Warhols, they had played 2 nights in LA. Um, Paramount seemed like a cool spot. It was close to their hotel. They needed to get to the airport like right after the show, so it was like easy to get to the airport after it. A lot of it is just logistics,
Logistics. Yeah.
and then what's available. We also want to try new things and find new studios because the more connections we have, the better. We've had a few sessions at Henson Studios, which is great. Sunset Studio, Gold Diggers. We came out here in New York and did battles, which was super sick, and Jay Mascis. So we did Jay Mascis out in Massachusetts, and then did battles at the Power Station, which is super famous here in the city. Um, so I mean, we're just incredibly fortunate to be able to have that flexibility.
Yeah. So as a world traveler and living in New York City, I mean, you have a pick of the litter for airports. Like, which is your favorite that you like to fly out of, or do they all
Okay,
they all
This
suck?
is this is like a constant conversation with anyone that will listen, but the new LaGuardia Airport is insane. Like I would go there for dinner. Like that's how good it is. It's just laid out perfectly and the restaurants are great and it's 20 minutes, from where I live in the city. I'm constantly having to fly out of Newark because of, I'm a United guy,
Yeah.
but yeah, though it's LaGuardia, Newark, and JFK. JFK is just going to take forever.
Yeah, Newark, I won't fly out of Newark again because that airport, A, sucks, and B, the parking lot that we parked at, a car hit us
Oh no.
and we had to go through like this parking lot. They were just a-holes and
Yeah,
it was a mess. So like one of those experiences. But yeah, Newark, oh man, that's rough.
yeah, it is rough.
Because
Yeah,
you're probably, how far is that from you then?
it's only like on the like if you're early in the morning flight, it's probably less than 40 minutes
Okay.
drive. It's never more really than an hour with traffic. If
Okay.
it's more than that, it's just a little over, but yeah, it's not too bad.
Okay. So you have partnered with so many companies throughout this, with Signal, with the cardboard sessions. How did the Vans collaboration come about?
Oh, yeah. So we grew up skateboarding, snowboarding. We've got lots of friends that are skateboarders. We're really tight. We've been tight with Vans for many years.
Okay.
We actually, if you go way back into the Every Third Thursday archive, we did a Vans collab snowboard where we made basically a left and a right snowboard. They're shapes of shoes, and so we've been friendly with them. They know that we build wild stuff, and my my co-creator with this show, Mark Waringa, is really close with Steve Van Doren, Hosoi, and a lot of the guys. And so we pitched this cardboard shoe mainly because it's a cool story. Like it's basically Ernest Packaging and Vans are both California born stores with father son owners and kind of takeovers. And so we just thought that was cool. I mean, clearly we grew up in snowboarding, we thought or skateboarding too, and we thought it would be just a fun project for us. Like who doesn't want to, who doesn't want to build a Van shoe with Vans? And as a young person, I mean, Vans was always known for customizing shoes. Like, I don't know if anyone watching this grew up skateboarding and went to skate shops, like you knew Vans always had the catalog where you could like literally pick your color, your sole, your stripe. Like they were always, in that customization world. And so when we pitched it, we were kind of saying like, yeah, this is like right in the ethos of Vans, and Steve Van Doren was like, I love it. Let's do it. And so I don't know, what was it? Now it's been a year and a half, but we went over to Vietnam. We brought our material, which is basically, pretty straightforward from our end. We just came up with like a checkerboard pattern, very like relief cut, like a bunch of different ways to make it almost like a fabric. That was like the most sort of innovation in it, was that it was like really felt kind of like a fabric as far as cardboard is concerned. And then we went over there and built it with the factory, which was wild, and it being in a factory in Vietnam and putting all these pieces together from start to finish. Like, right, we come over there with like a roll of fabric cardboard, and they're just like, here, we go in, we stamp out all the pieces, we work with the sewers, we vulcanize it with the vulcanizing team. We're there with Hosoi, Tony Alva, Omar Hassan, um, Steve Van Doren. Like they're all putting on the shoes, and like it took a day, right? Like you're like, okay, we flew all the way over here. We're like, we actually made these shoes in like a day, and we're skating in them, And so that was like kind of the coolest part too, is like the testing side of things, putting cardboard shoes on a professional skateboarder and having them skate like a real bowl is like a whole nother world. It's like that's the like nuanced part of all of this. Like you think like, oh, it's a cool project and it's a lot of fun, but like handing a cardboard guitar to like a very good guitar player, to Jordan Cook from Rainwolf, or giving the drums to Brad Wilk, or the drums to Matt Sorum, or the guitar to Billy Gibbons, giving the shoes to Tony Alva and Christian Hosoi. I'm like, there's a lot on the line, a lot of the times, and you're sort of just like, man, it's kind of cool to be confident enough to do it, but also like, we get to a place with these designs where we wouldn't put anyone at risk or put anyone, give anyone a shitty guitar or whatever, but still like there's always a little bit of risk involved. And so yeah, I don't know, I really appreciate about all one, about the concept behind it all and sort of the momentum it has, but all these amazing people that have come forward and played these instruments, that have participated in our, in some of our projects and have been supportive. So yeah, I feel I'm very, very lucky.
Well, one of the artists that you have done, Pete Yorn, is one of my favorites, and I would love to hear like his experience, during cardboard sessions. Or were you a part of that?
Sorry, say that again. My speaker just kind of got cut off, and I just
No,
wanted
that's okay. I said one of my favorite artists that you've done is Pete Yorn, and I would
Oh,
love to hear the experience that you had with Pete when or if you were there for that. If that's
I was there for that. So yeah, Pete Yorn is awesome. Another great artist from like the '90s, and all of us like we're fans, and so when we got connected with Pete, it was we ended up, he wanted to do it with Jackson Phillips of Daywave. I don't
okay.
know if you know Daywave. He's kind of
Heard
more,
of it.
he's an artist, but he's also a producer, and he's played on a couple of Pete Yorn projects or songs. And yeah, like Pete was 100% into it. It was cool. Like he's just like, oh yeah, and I mean, you could see him in the video just kind of like tripping out on the guitar, like this is great, and he's also a drummer, which I didn't know. And so we did this kind of cool episode or session with him where he played the drums, he played the guitar. I think Daywave played a little bit of guitar, and then they sang it, and so we kind of clipped it all together so it looked like he kind of, he's playing all of it at the same time. But Yeah, I mean, again, like these artists are so kind and so like interested in interesting things. I mean, I guess that's why they're artists, right? So, um, I'm always impressed at how cool most of I haven't run into like a really tough situation yet around this concept because if they're already up for it, then they have a sort of a sense and an open mind about things, and usually when you get them in the room, the biggest moment is like when everybody sort of connects with our crew. We have a very cool film crew, all like friends, but it's all high end, like all shot on red. All everybody in our crew is like super low key, and so a lot of times most artists leave going like that was a really great experience, because we're just everybody's chill. It's like one big happy family, for a session. Um, and so yeah, Pete was just, right on top of his game. Um, Great guitar playing, watching him layer vocals and watching him like the way that he sings and kind of watching him put that song together. That's another part of this that, a lot of people don't see, which I get to be a part of behind the scenes is, you see the final project or whatever, but I get to kind of see them in that space create. And that to me is like, whoa, like, I mean, I learned a lot just watching these artists make songs from scratch or, lay vocals down or techniques that they use to, get different guitar tones or layer vocals. And that's really interesting. And that was kind of the concept at the beginning of Cardboard Sessions was to kind of showcase that spark. We try to do it a little bit in the session, with a little bit of the sort of talk, talking we can pick up or sort of conversation that can kind of showcase that or a vibe between the artists or the thing where they kind of see each other and they're like locking in. But yeah, Pete was great. Pete, I'm with you on that one. That was a good one.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So, as a snowboarder, like I am just envious of anybody who snowboards because I have only skied and I'm just an average skier. But I will tell you this, like any time that I've skied ever since I was 17, I've always had music on. Like there's something
Yeah.
about skiing and snowboarding and listening to music. Talk about that and like talk about like how music is important to you when you're snowboarding.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people, that is the connection for us is, I mean, I've been like obsessively into music since I was young. I do play guitar. I've been in bands. But music and skateboarding, music and snowboarding, it goes hand in hand. Like I mean, from mini ramp jams when we were kids, where it was all like Metallica, punk rock, early punk rock, Black Flag, Minor Threat, Gorilla Biscuits, shit like that, to then like, 90s snowboarding, which is also very metal, but then also hip hop comes in and kind of takes over. And so you become kind of more eclectic and like I like all types of music. Like I'm punk, metal, hip hop, like jazz. Like I kind of just appreciate all music. Um, but snowboarding, it's interesting. Like when I snowboard by myself at like the local resort, I listen to music quite a bit. But when we're out in Alaska or whatever, like you can't, because you got to be listening to the mountain. But watching edits, like it's amazing. Like when you watch skateboarding or snowboarding, and you're listening to the soundtrack that the content is being played to, and you're like, man, there are songs like there's like Freak Scene's Dinosaur Jr. will forever be this one skate part when I was a kid that like every time I hear that song, I'm like, oh, that's, so and so skate part, which most of us who grew up in skating and snowboarding have that, just like instinctively stuck in us from a young age and how quickly like the artistry of like a professional sport mixed with the right music just is like life changing. It's like it fills you with all the emotion that you're sort of seeing, that you're imagining you could create on a skateboard or a snowboard. And then the music is just like this backdrop soundtrack that just like fuels it. So I think for to you, snowboarding with music or skiing with music or it's like it's the fuel that, I mean, I'm a huge runner, and I am like constantly putting playlists together for my runs and, for a lot of the stuff. And that is always meticulous, about like start to stop. Like, what's my journey, and I'm never just like, oh, here's all my power songs, like when things get rough, I'm like, no, I want to have like a journey. I need to relax at about mile 7. So I'm going to throw in these tracks. And then, you know, mile 17 in a marathon's always rough. We're going to have to pick it up over here. And we're going to end with something triumphant.
Yeah,
So,
that's so cool. Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, you're right. I mean, like the thought that's involved to really like make that run like, the best that it can be visual, well, audioly,
I mean, yeah, I mean, that's the greatest. Like, all my friends that are like really intense musos, like that get really, like they get so into music, like, the curation is so key. Like we know it. Like when we walk into a restaurant or a bar and like, damn, music is good here, right? Like you stay longer. Like you're like, I'm not, I'm staying. Yep. People want my parking spot. I'm not giving it up. Hold on. No. Sorry, everyone.
No, seriously.
She wasn't gonna leave me alone until I said no. Um, so yeah, like that feeling when you're in a good bar or a friend's house and they're just playing good music, you're like, man, it just elevates the whole experience. And that's these podcasts, man. That's why they're fun to listen to and watch and hear everyone's different perspectives. But yeah, music's everything.
So I want to know, man, as a snowboarder, you've had to have, and you kind of mentioned it, you have to listen to the mountain. Have you had any like experiences or any near-death experiences or any times when you were snowboarding where you felt like, man, I'm not in a good situation right now?
I've had a couple. I mean, small avalanches. I've definitely uh fallen down some faces, that are scary. Like you're just kind of, you're going pretty fast and it's pretty steep in Alaska, and your the consequences start to get pretty intense. I've been very lucky. Like I haven't been under, trapped under snow. I've been on, involved in small avalanches that I can easily get out of. But I mean, I've been around enough of them, like from afar, to understand like how serious those situations are, and that's why listening to the mountain is really important. Like a lot of things in life, listening to a moment in general is really important in life. So, um, I think. There's no shame in saying, not today or pulling the plug on stuff. I think that's something you just learn with age. When you're younger, you're like, I want to do this today and I'm going to get it done come hell or high water. And you go out and you kind of put yourself in riskier situations. When you get my age, you've been through enough stuff, you're kind of like, yeah, maybe today's not a good day out here. Like it's obvious the conditions are sketchy and we can come back tomorrow. Like there's all, it's just like a good lesson in life. Like there's always tomorrow if you're playing it safe, It's so yeah, couple little avalanches, couple good slams out there, of course. Like, no good pro athlete doesn't have their days where they get just absolutely ragdolled or wrecked out there. So that's for sure happened. But otherwise, yeah, pretty lucky,
So were you just more downhill or were you into tricks? Did you do the half pipes? Like what all did you do when you were in your career at least?
I was the slope style. Like basically if you watch X Games and you see like the slope style event, that was what I did before it was X Games.
Gotcha. So that's a good segue. Like X Games, I mean, I would assume that that's probably a little bit of divisive subject for your world because yes, it's done great for like, the broader audience, but like at the same time, there's probably some negatives about it. You want to talk about that or your thoughts on that?
I mean, I don't really have, honestly, I don't really have a lot of thoughts on X Games and Olympics and things like that. I just don't. I mean, it's such an interesting venue for some people, and then some people choose not to use the venue. Like it's kind of like it's almost like arena rock bands versus like indie bands. It's like the indie bands don't love all those big comps sometimes because they're not invited. Or it's hard to get into, and it's easy to pick on sort of like the bigger corporate entities. But then the arena guys are like, this is where the money is, this is where the world, this is where, the recognition is. So, I mean, I kind of get both stances. I'm not involved in either of them anymore. So I just kind of like, I let everyone do what they want to do. Yeah, I don't really have a lot of, like, I don't have a, opinion really on it.
Yeah, that's fine. So technology wise, like with regards to snowboard making, like what's the biggest technology that you've seen kind of over the 20 years that's really kind of advanced like the performance of these snowboards?
That's a good question. I think, a lot of like some uses of like carbon fiberglasses are really nice. They lighten up the board, they strengthen up the board. Materials have gotten lighter over the years. Techniques in the manufacturing process have gotten refined, so they're just like stronger, more, you can set up different flex patterns a lot easier than you could 20 years ago. Um, there's a lot of innovation in bindings now. Like a lot of people who are snowboarding have a choice to get like step-ins, which are something that we had like in the 90s, but everybody like laughed at. Nobody wanted anything to do with them. And now they're, 20 years later, they're kind of like the thing. And there's like, if you go, every brand has their version. That's probably the biggest innovation in the last couple years is you don't have to buckle in anymore if you don't want to. That I have an opinion on. I like my buckles. So I'll stay with my regular bindings for now.
Is that like, are you getting less safe from that, from not having the buckles? And
No,
is it, oh, okay.
no, I don't think so. I mean, I think they've designed them very well. Like it's just more like ease and accessibility for people. They don't have to, bend down every time they get off the lift and strap in. They can just pop their, boot in and clips, basically push down and they're in. But I think that they've done a really good job. I don't think it's like they're basically Burton and all the big brands. So yeah, I think it's probably
Yeah.
very safe.
Are
My guess.
you in your industry, are you seeing a lot of conglomeration with companies or are you seeing kind of like capitalism kind of taking over, or is there still a lot of independence with your industry?
I think snowboarding is pretty like 80% of the industry is run by like the biggest brands, and then maybe 20%, is kind of the independents like us and some of the other smaller brands. There has been a lot of consolidation. Like there's a couple of companies or one company in particular that's sort of bought up a lot of smaller snowboard brands and are all under one roof. It just kind of happens. The problem is snowboard business in general is just small. Like I always compare it to like vinyl. It's like there are people who are into vinyl, and if you look out there in the world, you'd think like it's a pretty big business. But if you talk to anybody that has a vinyl pressing plant, like it's not. You know, in the world of not every, in the with the billions of people on the planet and the hundreds of millions of people that live in the States and that are into music, not it's just a fraction of those people that buy actual vinyl records. And so, you can only get so big as a vinyl pressing plant, right? And then snowboarding's in that world too. It's like it can only be so big because there's only so many people that snowboard, and that number has come down over the years. And that's a lot. It's a huge reason for why, you know, I've started to transition this brand into a year-round outdoor adventure brand. I've been doing these other things for 10 plus years, like running and climbing and all, and just kind of trekking and trails and stuff like that. So that world is massive, right? Like everybody spends time outdoors. So it's just yeah, it's just a difference of actual like the kinds of people that are into, the amount of people that are into these things.
Well, and also too, when you feel like you've kind of And mastered is probably the wrong word, but you know what I mean. Like if you've mastered one thing, you want to
Mhm.
open up more challenges and you want to open up the
Yep.
business. So yeah, nothing wrong with that, right?
No, no, no. No, no. Hey, I'm noticing that my battery, I'm so sorry, is like down low, so I don't want to lose you.
Yeah,
But
no. You don't have a charger with you then,
I
or
don't, I have one here, but I don't know if it's gonna work down here like
okay.
this. Um,
Yeah, all good.
but I have like 10% left. I just want to let you know.
All right, no worries. So I want to know how you like your
Like,
favorite way to listen to music. Is it in the car? Is it in your like living room? Is it with nice speakers? Is it with headphones? Like, what is
yeah,
your ideal way to listen to music?
yeah, top three is I love listening to music in a car. I love it. Driving and listening to music, road trips, like, or just, on a drive, it's just like the world moving by you at that speed and the kind of music that you can consume, that you're listening to is just like epic. It's just like you're free. Um, I love good headphones. Obviously, I really can feel all of the music when I have like a good pair of headphones, like full goosebumps, hair, I love that kind of stuff. And I've really enjoyed, listening rooms now. Like they're kind of, the Tokyo style listening room has really kind of come up. Like we've seen these things when we would travel through Japan and Tokyo, and it was always a lot of fun, but it felt kind of niche. And there's a couple listening rooms here in the city that are unbelievable. And so just being able to sit in a room with other people and listen to music through like an analog system, like tube amps and record players and just kind of hear the needle, in every bump in the record. That's just, I don't know, again, just hair, goosebumps. I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So I want to talk about what you have on your website, a line that apparently you came up with, which we've already talked about is amazing. You
Yeah.
say break the spell of identification.
Yeah.
You say that. What does that mean to you, and what was the purpose of putting that on for the website?
So breaking the spell of identification is kind of got two meanings for me. Personally, like I've taken a very high level interest in sort of mindfulness and meditation and in my own journey have just really leaned into breaking my own spell of identification, which is like snowboarder, skateboarder, musician, whatever it is. It's like we're so many things and those types of things when you're constantly when you're constantly talking about these things and you're identifying with them, it's hard to see outside of it. And so on top of that, we are rebirthing Signal into from a snowboard brand to a year-round outdoor adventure brand, and no snowboard brand has ever really done this. So um, I mean, there are some apparel brands in snowboarding that have gone into outdoor adventure, but no snowboard hard goods like snowboard specifically brands have tried this. And so I really like this idea. Like I'm like, wow, people get to follow us taking this brand from a seasonal, small, independent snowboard brand to a year-round, all seasons, kind of outdoor adventure brand in snowboarding, running, trekking, trails, backpacking, a little bit of climbing. Um, yeah, and that just kind of hit me. So I look at our brand as like three pillars, and it's like, the things that we make, the media that we choose to make and put out to the world, and then sort of this health and wellness side of where my life is at, and really trying to add that as a foundational pillar to everything I do, just so that, if somebody identifies with some of these things, and I said to you, you're the first to really say this to me, about this tagline or this sentence, it means a lot to me because I feel like that you see it, like you felt it when you read it, it meant something to you. And that's my hope is that we can together brainstorm these ideas of breaking the spell of identification or just kind of mindfulness in general, learning how to be more considerate of, other people's thoughts, and, and not be so, like everyone's just so, polarized these days. Like it's just kind of intense. So taking a step back and just kind of, what I've noticed is, in all of the craziness that we sort of are up against these days, when you travel or you meet people face to face, person to person, it's always usually pretty amazing and kind. It's only online in our digital worlds do you see like a lot of the, sort of heavier, shit coming out, or the kind of like discontent and things like that. And that is, that's kind of a rabbit hole that people don't need to like focus on,
So
So,
unproductive. Yeah, yeah,
so that's a little bit of that health and wellness, just trying to build it into the foundation, just because it's part of my life.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I feel you on the entrepreneurial spirit, man. I mean, I was a hotel manager for 22 years.
Mm,
I got out of it. I started this clothing company. I have the podcast now. I'm a trivia host, and I have
nice.
four kids. Like, like
Yeah,
it's it's nice to have like, more eggs in your basket than just one.
exactly. Yeah, and I mean, especially with kids, it's like we both know, it's like man, the power of creativity, them growing up around creativity, like your kids are watching,
Yeah.
so it's just, what were we saying the other day? It's like, it's very simple. It's you are what you do, so do what you want to be, you know, pretty
Yeah.
much that easy.
Yeah. I mean, I think if people would go with that mantra, I think the world would be a better place, but
Yeah,
we can
yeah,
only hope, right?
yeah, for sure.
So what do you got the rest of the year then? I mean, what like
Uh,
professionally, personally, what do you got? Any trips you doing? What do we got going on?
Yeah, so we just finished the acoustic guitar made out of cardboard with Echo Park guitars out of Detroit. So we're gonna have Troy from Queens play it with Kelly from Failure. He'll be on drums. We got SG Goodman next week. Personally, snowboard season's about to kick off in a few months. So, always have that like kind of annual trip somewhere interesting. Last year we went to Norway. This year we'll probably go back to Alaska. I'm going to Nepal. I do a yearly climb in Nepal. Um, and that'll be probably December. So pretty excited.
Yeah, that's amazing. You racked up the United Miles, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. I get bumped up every once in a while these days, which is pretty awesome.
It is nice. I'm with American and like, yeah, when you get that like, Mr. Hampton, we've upgraded you to first class. Like, it's
Oh,
a real
best
nice
feeling ever.
feeling.
Yeah, yeah. I text about three people every time that happens. I'm like, yes.
Little old me, right?
Yeah,
Well, Dave, I appreciate you taking the time to do this.
yeah. It's been great.
Yeah, at some point, yeah, maybe we can extend this and do this again.
Yeah, absolutely. This was a fantastic chat, and I really appreciate it. I will just close because these are always an important thing for me to do, but I do want to thank, Ernest Packaging, Tim Wilson and Mike Martinez. They like I tend to be doing these. I've been trying to give them the love because, without them, these shows wouldn't exist, and, I wouldn't be able to have these chats with you guys, or maybe wouldn't have seen it, so super, just a little shout out to them and appreciation. But thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, and thanks to Heidi too, your publicist, for
Oh
kind
yeah,
of
Heidi,
talking
thank you.
too.
Yeah, she reminded me this morning too. I was just very kind. Like,
Yeah.
got a lot going on these days.
Where is she based out of then?
I think she's in Jersey.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, yeah.
Good. Well, Dave, thank you.
Awesome,
Best
dog.
of luck. Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you so
yeah.
much.
Thank you for having me, man. We'll be in touch. Do it again
Absolutely,
sometime.
man. Yeah, no, yeah. Next time we're in New York City, we'll have to connect, man.
Yeah, yeah. Anytime.
Yeah,
Yeah, for
that
sure.
would
Go
be
grab a
great.
coffee.
Sweet.
All
Ladies
right,
and
man.
gentlemen, don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, our social media pages. That helps us. That helps the bands, artists, entrepreneurs like Dave here. Also, check out our sponsor, RAR Outfitters. That's RAWR, outfitters.com. Don't just wear, RAR. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, I've been Dog. You've been great. This is the Music Lab Podcast.